Hello everyone, is your body ready? Are you prepared for 1 hour of entertainment from moi? I'm going to do my best to provide it. Let me just put the chat.
Down in a few.
Why is the distributist showing his face? He looks like mundane Matt. Oh my god, did you guys know? Like, no, seriously, look at this. I don't know if you can see it. But this is the distributist. Like, doesn't he look like mundane Matt? It's the first time I see him. Holy shit, no, look, like, it's like mundane Matt. Like, is it not? Is it not? Like, he is live streaming. He's got the audacity. He's got the audacity to stream when I'm streaming, right? At this hour, at this ungodly hour. And look at him. He's got like the mundane Matt facial features. Can you guys see it? Huh? Is it just me? Christ. Go to sleep, V. Pay me. Pay me and I'll go to sleep. This is how I work, man. Like, when you go to work and you're ready to make money to put for the household, to put food on the table. Do you understand? Put food on the table. And your boss would say, go to sleep. And you're like, well, yeah, but if I go to sleep, do you, like, you know, like, I don't like waking up in the morning, to be honest. I don't like doing it, but, like, you have to. You have to put food on the table, motherfucker. Okay. That's a huge insult. Like, man, it's his hairstyle. You know, like, he chose to sport the mundane Matt. Like, he probably went on a link on mundane Matt channel and was like, steal his look. And he got the whole thing. Better be good. I ditched low ping. Who watches low ping? Why do you watch low ping? Watch me instead. Mundane Matt isn't bold, is he? Huh? I don't know. Okay. Let's wait for more people and then we can talk about something muy importante. Academic agent, apparently. I just found out. Okay? Academic agent got fired. That sucks donkey balls. So he gets engaged, right? He marries the missus, buys a home, and then gets canceled. But like they doxed him, and then they canceled him. And this is, I assume, by the people that would probably say cancel culture isn't real. Now, I don't know how the fuck can you get, like, what did the academic agent do? Like, what did he do? Because I watched his videos. They're lame as hell. Like, lame as in non-edgy. That there's nothing wrong with them. You know, like, not. He is just, like, his ideology, in my opinion, especially for a Brit, is so out there that it will never be enacted, right? Like, he is an anarcho-capitalist almost. You know, he's like 1 foot from falling into the ANCAP trap. Is 1 foot on the edge. Like, that's literally his ideology. He doesn't want government intervention at all. Oh, now I bet he's a Nazi. Like, you know, that's what the Nazis did, didn't they? Like, they said, let's have the smallest government possible. Like, no government intervention, not whatsoever. So, yeah, you know, that's UK universities for you. Let me just show you something so you can understand what it's like with the UK university. Like, this university professor had to ask the logical question, why is there more intellectual freedom in Bucharest, aka Romania, than Cambridge? You know, like, when you hear about university, the idea that you're getting is it teaches people how to think, right? Like, that's the purpose of a university. That's why you send your kids there, right? You know, I'm legitimately considering, like, my fiancée still has a problem with this, but I'm going to start explaining to her that unless the kid wants to become a doctor, there's no reason to send him to a university, none whatsoever. It's like, send him to a trade school. Like, let me tell you how upsetting it is, because this is the thing you need to fight against in the culture. There is this idea, I don't know where it came from, I don't know why it exists, but there's this idea that someone that lays bricks a builder, for example, is someone that's a lesser being, lesser person. It's a profession to look down at. It's almost like you need to go to the university because otherwise you end up laying bricks, as it's something shameful, as if it's something ridiculous. I really disagree with this notion. Here's the problem. I got 2 university degrees. 2. Law school and med school. I'm not practicing any of them. By choice, not because I couldn't get it or anything like that. But like, here's the thing. I know other people that are laying bricks and they're earning more money than me. And they're earning more money than even if I were to go to law school or med school. It's very difficult to find a job, at these places. It's very difficult. But meanwhile, like, if you know how to lay bricks and you're doing it really well, you can save money and start a bricklaying company. Yeah? Like, this is, the interesting thing is like the professions that everyone tries to avoid are the professions that are the most sought after right now. Being an electrician, laying the bricks, being a plumber. I had my toilet clogging. It's a shitty problem to have your toilet clogged. Did you guys have your toilet clogging? Huh? Like when you flush, there's water coming into your house with the stucco and everything. It's horrible. It's bad. No, seriously, you don't want to. So I had to call a guy. I go on Facebook because I don't know anyone. But I go on Facebook and I find this plumber. He charged me, I think it was $100 to unclog my toilet. So I'm thinking, like, and while he's at me, first of all, when I asked him to come, he decided to take like 2 or 3 days to schedule me because like he was busy with other people calling him and stuff. So he comes at my place, alright? And while at my place, he keeps getting phone calls. Like other people are looking for him, and it's like in high demand. And I'm thinking, motherfucker, you go to one person and you get $100. Like you go to 10 people and you make $1,000. That's insane. And like he's like swimming in cash, and I, as a doctor, was making what, $340, $350 per month at the time. I heard they increased the wage since those years, but it's like, why wouldn't I ask someone to tell my kids to consider plumbing as a profession? What's the problem with that? Not to mention, like, you can automate a lot of things. Like, even in the hospitals, a lot of doctors in certain fields are being laid off because of automation. Like, for example, in the lab, like when you have a weird cough and they put a diagnosis and they want to know what antibiotic to give you, right? They take a little bit of your sputum and they send it to the lab to see to look at the bacteria to see what's resistant at. All of that shit is being automated now. Like, it is to the point where you just put the thing in a machine and the machine automatically tells you, Like, it used to be that you'd have, like, an entire army of nurses at the time. Well, it wasn't nurses, actually. It was chemistry students or chemistry people, right? And they would make, like, all these color-based reactions, and they would look at the thing, and yeah, that's not the case anymore. They just dump them in the machine and they spit out the results. I don't see plumbing being automated anytime soon. Like, what are they going to do? Create a robot that goes into your toilet and unclogs it? I've made $0 with my electronic engineering degree. I think it matters which country you're from, but you would make a lot of money in my country, like if you're an electrician, like the guy that just, something breaks, like the lights don't work and you call the guy. The type of person that when you build a house, you call him over in order to do the electric wiring and shit. In a way, I guess, like, electricians, maybe they might not be so sought after, because I've not had any problem with my electrical wiring ever since technology advanced. Like, it used to be in communism. I don't know if anyone uses that shit anymore. But it used to be, you had these fuses, which would always burn out. And, you'd plug in something, you'd turn it on, and then, and the entire house would be like, like everything would shut down. So you have to go and see which fuse has been burned out and replace that fuse. Yeah, I haven't done that. I haven't done that since I installed a better electrical system, which is now with switches and stuff. And every now and then it's like I hear the switch going clunk because there's maybe a jolt of power, and it turns off, and you just flip the switch back on so you don't have to use fuses. Gender studies, gender studies is a good university, man. I mean, if you're not white, like if you're a white person and you go to a gender studies university, you might as well be a woman that's going to a Catholic university to learn how to become a Catholic priest. You know, it's like you can gain the knowledge, like the knowledge is available to you, but you're never going to be a diversity officer. Like no one is going to hire you. They don't hire white people as diversity officers. I've never seen it. Like please tell me if they do. You know, I would be surprised. I would be like, well, if I hear about the company that has hired a white guy as a diversity officer. But if you are a person of color and you manage to go to gender studies, man, they pay a lot of money. They pay like $250,000 a year on average. You can get all the way up to $300,000. If you're at the university, that's pretty much like money laundering level. Yeah. Like they launder money. Like they throw that money in and no one has to explain where it goes. And it's quite interesting. It's like, what the fuck do you do as a diversity officer at a company? Jack shit, that's what you do. You know, like you have the actual plebs that have to work for a living, and they're working 10, 11, 12 hours a day, crunching those numbers for 8 hours a day pay. Yeah, those are the ones that are breaking their backs for probably the wage that's a little bit above the cleaning lady, you know? And then you have like the actual offices, the closed offices with air conditioning where the diversity officers work. And what do? They send some emails and then they drink rosé wine with their colleagues because they got literally nothing to do. Like it's a job where you don't do anything. Maybe once in a blue moon you get your people to a retreat and you tell them how bad whitey is and how awful capitalism is. That's literally it. Like that is literally it. Like you pay $250,000. I generally think it's like a racketeering thing, you know? It's like blackmailing. It's like if you're a company that's working in tech and you don't have a diversity officer, then other companies start to ask you like, why don't you have it? Like, well, why do you not have one? It's like, oh, you do not agree with diversity. Oh, we're not going to make business with you. Yeah, it is early, you know. HR creates more problems than they solve. Yeah, I remember reading from Lionsgate Comics. Lionsgate Comics was a small comic book studio that decided to hire a social justice activist. And I don't think they knew that she was a social justice activist in the beginning. But literally, like, she had this blog, and on this blog, she was talking about how to get your boss fired. Like, that, isn't that like the type of employee that you want to hire? You know, like someone that from the get-go is looking to start up shit at your company. So she talks about how you should save every single interaction you have with your boss, like all the emails. Like she says that you should antagonize your boss so that he responds in a negative way, blah, blah, blah. And then you take it to the HR and you show that so that you can try to get your boss fired. The funny thing is that when she got hired at Lionsgate, they actually didn't have an HR. And it's like, holy shit, how can we co-opt a company? How can we subvert a corporation if they don't have an HR? So what ends up happening is like she keeps pressuring them to make an HR. Eventually they do make an HR, and the first thing she does is to try to get their number one artist fired. So again, like an independent comic book company, you know, they hired this diversity lady, and the first thing she does is to get the best artist they had on the team fired. And I start to notice why is it that it's usually the best artist on the team that gets fired. Because I looked at, you know, people like Ethan Van Sciver and other people that are very talented. Now, from my personal experience, and again, like I've been to different places, universities, you know, even lower places like KFC, McDonald's. Like, you notice a pattern. People who actually know their shit, like people who are competent, they don't have time to waste on people that I don't. Like, no. How should I put this in a way that's accurate? Because I don't want to be misunderstood. Like, if you go to, let's say, KFC, right? And there's this guy that's really effective. Like, he can do everything. He's got no problem. He does what other people do twice as fast. You know, he works really hard. He doesn't have time to waste with incompetent people. Like, if you notices that you can't even roll the chicken through the dough, he's going to probably tell you once how to do it. But if you constantly bother him and you constantly interrupt him, and if you even come with an attitude, he's going to be a dick to you. And I notice this, like, people who are skilled at what they do are almost always dicks. Because they don't have time to waste, you know? So when you have some social justice activist who thinks they're hot shit and they join a company and they don't know how to draw or be good artists or be good at anything, they're going to notice that the first people that are dicks to them are the qualified people, the ones that are actually skilled. So they're going to try to fire these people, which is why it's get woke, go broke. A Skaven gave me $10. I got 10 USD, United States dollar, which have been taken off the gold currency. I'm really happy. Thank you. Yeah, they don't have time to cuddle people. Yeah, exactly. It's what it is. They really do not have the time. And even if they do have the time to cuddle people, I think if they tell you once and you still do the mistake, like, they're going to get annoyed. But here's what I notice. People are willing to tolerate with a dick as long as the dick is actually good at their job. Like, if you're the best bricklayer in the business, chances are if you're an asshole, it's going to be tolerated because, well, you know, he's the guy for the job. Like, but if you're the person that's really bad at your job and you have an attitude on top of that, yeah, a lot of people are going to hate you. Like, a lot of people are going to hate you, you know, because if you're in the bricklaying industry and you have a problem with the best bricklayer, like, if you go to your boss and you tell him, it's like, look, this guy is an asshole, the guy will be like, well, can you make bricks like him? And it's like, no. Well, then shut the fuck up, you know? But if it's a guy that's really bad and they have an attitude, then it's quite easy to deal with. 10 p.m. Yeah, but like, if I get money from the Skaven, shouldn't I be worried? Because usually there's a string attached. Like, there needs to be a catch. Like, Skavens do not just donate to charity. Thank you, Bradley Golden, for subbing today. Let's see if we can... okay, so this is a very interesting article that I found. It's about a pro-Brexit person from the United Kingdom, right? And it's kind of surprising and very interesting that being pro-Brexit is actually controversial in a country that democratically voted for Brexit. Like, the overwhelming amount of people have voted not once but twice for Brexit. So the first time was in the referendum, the second time was with the EU elections. What was it? The Nigel Farage party, the Brexit party, was the one that got the most votes. Like, isn't that astonishing? You know, like, you had like various different parties, different political parties with various agendas and factions, and it's this one that gets... Anyway. So the guy is pro-Brexit, and he goes at Cambridge and says, yeah, I would like to talk about Brexit. And Cambridge goes, nah, it's controversial. It's controversial. Like, you can't talk about controversial things at a university. So where the fuck are you supposed to talk about controversial things then? With your mother at the dinner table? Like, anyway. He comes to Romania. He comes to Bucharest. And he's invited to speak at the university in Bucharest. And he asks if there is anything that's not allowed. Let me see if I can... Okay, so back in Romania, we all got together in a hotel in Bucharest. And he asked how he squared the vision, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's take it from the top, because I can't really find where exactly it is. Congrats on your wedding. I haven't married yet. I just got engaged. Like, I gave her the ring. I liked it, so I put the ring on that finger. That's what I did. The wedding is probably going to come after I finish paying for the mortgage. I decided to make a mortgage, by the way, like buy a house. And I don't know. Hopefully it's going to be fine. Like, if I manage to keep my YouTube channel for a year, hopefully 2, I will be able to pay the mortgage. If not, yikes. But you know, like, life isn't fun unless you take risks, right? You need to take risks. Do not remove the currency you have received from the lead box or consume the currency. Some mutations may occur. Why would the Skaven have a disclaimer? That's another thing. Anyway, so you can talk about anything you like, says Radu. So this is what happens when you go to a Romanian university. Like, this is what happens when you go to a Romanian university. Look at this shit. You can talk about anything you like. Anything. Like, if you come to a Romanian university, let this drill into your brain. Like, anything you like can be talked about. The theme was Real Liberty or New Serfdom, marking the anniversary of the fall of the communist asshole Nicolae Ceausescu. The audience was made up of Romanian undergraduates. The keynote speaker was a German federalist, and he was planning on making the classical liberal case for the European Union, which made the title of my lecture, The Classical Liberal Case Against the EU. So look what they did in Romania. Horrible, right? They got a pro-Brexit person and a pro-EU person. And it's like, okay, you can talk. Do you know what happened afterwards? The students asked questions. They were fascinated. They never heard the Brexit case. So they were like, oh, they went and they asked questions. Imagine that. No one set fire to the university. No one tried to get anyone fired. It was just academic discourse. Horrible. Academic discourse. So he told Radu what I wanted to talk about. 30 years ago, Romanians had been ruled by a man who literally gave his critics cancer. With fears of criticizing the powerful die-hard in Bucharest, I waited for the explanation that there had been a mix-up, that my lecture would be cancelled, and excellent, replied Radu, that's exactly what we did. And I want you to understand, Romania is a very pro-EU country. Like, even the idea that a politician would be against the EU would affect him in the polls. Like, people would be like, oh, he's against the EU, we're not going to vote for that. It's like, just so you can understand. A week later, I was preparing to talk to a student politics society at Cambridge, and I suggested the same subject. Only this time, I got the explanation. The problem is we're looking for something a bit more mainstream. In other words, you know, we just don't want to talk about it. It's like, how the fuck can you say that Brexit is not mainstream in the UK when 52% of the people voted for it? He was quite honest about it. It seemed like his society director has introduced a policy of no platforming Brexiteers. I spared him the thoughts on crystallizing my mind about Cambridge as the scholarly heart of the English Reformation and the parliamentary struggler against arbitrary power. Something on China, perhaps, he suggested? Oh, by the way, like, I'm 100% sure that you're probably not going to talk about China either at the university in the UK, especially after recent events. Back in Romania, we all got together to a hotel in Bucharest. The German Federalists did the same thing. The Brotherhood of Europe, Perpetual Peace, the whole, you know. I really hate the idea that the European Union maintains peace. It's such a dumb fucking take. The EU does not have an army. The EU maintains jack shit. Do you know what maintains peace in Europe? NATO. NATO maintains peace. Yes, like NATO. The United States with NATO. Yeah, they're the ones that maintain peace. And you don't even need, like, okay, why aren't, if that's the case, if the EU maintains peace, why aren't the nations outside of EU going to war? Well, I mean, you can say about Ukraine, but again, Ukraine is not in NATO. Not to mention, war isn't profitable nowadays. Who goes to war? You know, like even in the Middle East, they're starting to pull out. I mean, I think like the only places that you still have war is like developing nations, but like major superpowers, they don't go to war. It's not profitable. You can try to dominate a nation economically, and you get more power from that. What is profitable is to brain drain a country. You know, have open borders, and like it happens in Romania, and then allow like a bricklayer from Romania to work in Germany for 10 times the pay, or a doctor, or anything you want. And then when I want to build a house, there's no one to find because like everyone is in Germany. The United States is NATO, yes. Um, Turkey is in NATO, yeah, and Turkey is not at war with anyone. Is Turkey going to war with Russia or something? So the German Federalist says we need to squash down these nation states. That's the way, he said cheerfully. Like, look, I love how the Germans are honest. It's like we need to squash down these nation states. You know, it's something that I wouldn't mind. Like, I genuinely wouldn't mind if the entire Europe united, if it was democratically. You know, if we had a system like the United States, with a constitution that guarantees human liberties, such as free speech, the right to carry a ta. You know, like all that shit. And it was representative of the people, by the people. You know, like if all of this was true, I wouldn't give a shit. It's like, okay, squash Romania. Like, okay, fine. It would be like the United States of Europe. But it's not like the United States of Europe because the European Union is not democratic. So, like for example, the negotiator on behalf of Brexit happens to be a man by the name of Guy Verhofstadt. Guy Verhofstadt negotiates on behalf of hundreds of millions of people. His party, I think it's called the Fleming, the Fleming Party or something like that. Has been crushed in the elections. They got less of a percent than Nigel Farage's party in the UK. And even though that happened, he is the chief negotiator on behalf of Brexit. If I don't want that guy, there is nothing I can do against it. It's like there's just not even, like, you can't even vote him out of office. There's nothing you can do. So, you know, the same with the president in the EU, Ursula von Leyen. I didn't vote for her. The one before, Jean-Claude Juncker, the one that allegedly was drunk, but he claimed he wasn't. Yeah, I can't do anything against him either. You know, so it's not democratic. Like, they go like, oh, Trump, fascist. Hey, at least you get to vote for Trump. Squash the nation states, yes. Bratislava, for example, is a great German, I mean European city. Nervous laughter. Polite applause. I knew I couldn't compete with the philosophical stuff, and I had to admit that perpetual peace sounded tempting, so I kept it simple. I explained how the EU makes laws, what it actually does, a parliament that can't propose laws. Very few people know this. Like, they hear the EU parliament and they think that they're the lawmakers. They're not. Which actually come from lawmakers that aren't directly elected, secretive committees stitching up legislation away from the public gaze, and I suggested this is less the embodiment of Kant's vision than a return to the pre-Enlightenment form of government. The Holy Roman Empire was close to the mark, but with a single European army. Juncker's words attached. If you think that's liberal, you're living in a dream world. With an innate take of breath, I finished bang on the hour at first tumbleweed. Then suddenly everyone seemed to have a question. Like, look, the students are having questions, which were analytical, forensic, and good-humored. No Fox outrage. Again, like, Romania is a very pro-EU country, and none of the students had Fox outrage, no deployment of the logical fallacy, so common sense in the debate. Some nasty fascists don't like the EU, ergo you don't like the EU, must be a fascist. It was an intelligent, stimulating, grown-up discussion. I have long held that theory that experience of communism in Eastern Europe have inoculated these countries against socialism today. It's not that I romanticize these former Soviet allies, their political elites are frequently crooked. Many of their citizens will likely wait decades before getting a real choice about EU membership. Most read little criticism of Brussels in their newspaper, just the boilerplate economicums. But that is besides the point. The students in Bucharest were doing what students are supposed to do. Hearing each side of the argument, they didn't show any of the symptoms of intellectual decay that I often encounter among students in the Anglosphere, in particular using someone's dissent from progressive orthodoxy to exclude, purge, persecute, or otherwise gain power over them. But there is another malady that affects many of our students, and it's an indicative of an authoritarian mindset. They are so boring. In Cambridge, there is a continued failure to uphold free speech or to grasp what is properly liberal. Because if I can make the case against rule by faceless bureaucrats in a former Warsaw Pact dictatorship, but not at one of our first universities, our culture is in serious trouble. Yeah. Very interesting, isn't it? It is Fox outrage. Like, I have spoken with several people that have left the social justice circle, and because they all told me the same thing, it's very difficult to deny the thing's existence. So they all told me that they joined social justice for various reasons, but mostly because they were approached by very friendly people, and at the time they didn't know better. And when you're surrounded by other social justice activists, it becomes like you gain the spotlight for a little bit. You gain a little bit of attention if you manage to articulate why something offends you. So, you know, like in the beginning, when they start this, they don't actually get offended. They would say, yeah, I'm offended because Angry Joe doesn't like the new Last of Us and he must be a misogynist. Okay? So they don't really get offended, but like they find a reason to get offended. And when they say that, it's like, oh my god, yeah, you're right. Oh, that is so horrible. Oh, do you need a hug? Oh, let's cuddle. Okay. And as they keep doing this more and more, in their brain, it actually, from a game, it turns into actual offense. And they legitimately do get offended, and they feel virtuous when they get offended, if that makes sense. And it's very difficult to turn this mindset off. It's like a pathological liar, I guess. You know, like you first lie a couple of times, and then you don't even realize when you do it. What do you think about Portland breach fence? Okay, I will tell you something about Portland, right? Let me show you an image from Portland. So look at this. Multiple rope pull lines are being used to try to break the fence protecting the courthouse. So I'm looking at this, and my initial thing is like, man, the company which made this fence is probably going to make a killing. I mean, if I want to build a fence, I am going to contact this company. Like, look how sturdy this shit is. How do you make? Is it from vibranium? Like, how can you make? Look, these people, they're really trying. You know, like, one of two things can happen. Okay, either the people that are trying to pull this fence down are wimps, and, you know, it's kind of difficult to believe, or this is such a motherfucking good fence. Like, look at it. Look how they're throwing, like, look, I mean, it's insane. It is postage sending a wedding invitation, please. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have one of these expensive weddings. I don't see the point in it. Like, as I mentioned, like, I want to buy a house. So all the money that I make is going to go for the house. And the only thing that's going to keep me alive with my cat is going to be the wage that my doctor girlfriend brings in. So that's how I plan to live from now on. Like everything that I make here, to the bank. And because of that, I'm not going to have a wedding. I'm going to have a family dinner with her family and mine. And maybe, a wedding dress so that we can take some nice pictures. We're going to go to the church to make a vow in front of God. And then we're going to go to the civil, what is it? The authority, so we can sign the papers, and that's it. Um, Regardless of who wins in the 2020 elections in the US, do you think there's going to be outrage from both sides of the political aisle? I don't think the right wing is going to make any outrage. Okay, like if the right wing didn't do any outrage until now, I don't think the right wing is going to do any outrage. What I do think though is that if the left wins, they're going to do what they promised to do. They want to eliminate the filibuster laws, which means that they can then just sideline Republicans and just not care about their existence or the conversation they have. They want to give voting rights to illegals. I assume like they're going to make it so that if you're a person that lived in the United States, whether you got legally or not, and you've been there for like 10 or 20 years, then you can vote. So this will magically just increase the numbers of voters for them, because if you're dependent on the state, then obviously you're going to vote for the party that wants the state to become bigger. And yeah, like that's what I think. Like if they win at this point, I don't see how the right can recover. We're breaking out from the 2020 elections. No, I don't think there's going to be war. I mean, I haven't heard any talks of succession, like seceding from the United States. And I don't think the military would support that. This is why they probably want Trump to do the first step. Like they want Trump to send in the military, and because he doesn't, they're getting upset. So I think Trump might win, though. Like I'm pretty confident of it. I looked at the polls. It seems that he's turning shit around. I definitely think like things like what was it, CHAZ, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, where what was it, like 3 people or more died? Yeah, the Summer of Love they called it, right? If that's the Summer of Love, I would hate to see the Summer of Hate or the Winter of Hate. But the interesting thing about it is that they had that going, probably waiting for Donald Trump to send in the National Guard, and Trump didn't. So all of the things that happened in CHAZ now reflect very poorly on the mayor and the city council and the governor. See, you say there is no recovering after this, but I think America's been through worse, to be honest. The LA riots, for example, it's not the first time that something like this happens. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot more brazen. I think like the reason people think it's worse is because it's so in your face. With the power of the internet, you actually get to see things. Like for example, you have a reporter in front of a burning police station, and he says that the protesters were peaceful. You look at that and you're like, what the fuck? And because it's on the internet, people get to share that around. But imagine if the internet didn't exist. I mean, the media would show that once, and if you didn't see it, then you had no evidence of it. And when you told to other people, they would say, well, they wouldn't believe you, right? So now it's just more obvious of what the mainstream media is doing, like, and how they're presenting the stories, because people have the internet and they can just show it. Nurgle, what is it? Like, Nurgle, I prefer no borders for maximum fun. Borders are lame. Well, if borders are lame, then you need to be okay with America parking its tanks into Mexico. I mean, there's no borders, right? So why shouldn't America just annex Mexico? And then there are no more problems. Then the Mexicans become American taxpayers. And they can probably send the National Guards against the cartels. It's going to become a prosperous state. I mean, borders are bad, right? So let's get rid of borders. America conquers all. Chaos is fun, huh? Unless America pulls back and lets other countries be free, America is doing that. Aren't they pulling back from the Middle East? And is the Democrats that are pissy about it? Like, isn't Trump actually pulling away from the Middle East? It's kind of funny though. It's like Trump actually went to the campaign and says, "Yeah, we're going to pull the troops back." And everyone votes him for it, and then when he pulls the troops back, they're panicking because it's like, oh, now the Kurds are killing. No, now they're killing the Kurds. It's like, well, bitch, you can't have it both ways, you know? Like, yeah, the troops are there. It prevents internal conflict. Now that the troops are leaving, it's like, yeah, they're killing the Kurds. Like, well, what do you think happened? Before I was born, like, ever since I opened the history book, there has been conflict in the Middle East. And I'm pretty sure, like, while I'm alive, there's conflict in the Middle East, and after I'm dead, there's going to be conflict in the Middle East. Like, name me a time period when there was no conflict in the Middle East. I think it's like when the Ottoman Empire had the say, right? What do you mean, like, annexing Mexico doesn't get rid of borders? It's like, if Mexico becomes America, there will be no border between Mexico and the United States. Now, you can say, well, there's a border after that, you know, like, there's going to be another border. It's like, okay, well, America can conquer that as well. Like, when America conquers everything, there will be no more borders. I'm not drunk, I'm making points. Like, contradict me if I'm wrong. If a nation conquers the entire world, where would the borders be? Trump abandoned the Kurds to appease Turkey. If the US pulls out of the Middle East, Turkey gains access to the Middle East. Like, you understand this. It's literally how it works. A lot of people were asking, it's like, why is America doing in Iraq? And no one was asking, why is Iran in Iraq? Like, that's what happens. Like, when a big power leaves, it creates a vacuum, which is going to be filled by other powers. In this case, Iran and Turkey. Just conquer stuff, based. Hey, you want to know borders? I give you practical solutions. If you don't like my solutions, don't complain about the borders, okay? Mexico can be Mexico and just have no border. Yeah, but why? Why? I mean, they're clearly not... Like if everyone wants to move from Mexico to the United States, wouldn't it help them if America just annexes Mexico? You know, like... and then they all become American citizens. What's the problem with that? How do you even know, like, the jurisdiction if there's no border? Like, how do you know when you... like, here's the thing, right? If there's no border, and let's say someone does tax evasion and steals money and goes from America into Mexico, because he can. There's no border. How are the Americans supposed to catch him? Like, the American police can't travel into Mexico. They don't have jurisdiction. In fact, if there's no border, how do you even know where the jurisdiction ends? Like, how do you know, like, this is where Mexico law starts and this is where US law starts? Borders suck. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you lock your house. You know, it's like you marginalize, this is my house, and from here on, it's public property. You probably lock your house because you're a bigot, right? You think that homeless people will come in and steal shit. Maybe Mexicans don't want that. Well, then they want borders. They need to choose. It's a difficult choice. Let them vote. Well, if America annexes Mexico, they can vote. No, because they become American citizens. Like, think about it. Just logic. Imperialism is like really trash. Yeah, but imperialism doesn't have borders. The European Union actually said, Jean-Claude Juncker actually said that the EU is going to be an empire for good. Okay, so It's not like the other empires that were for bad. No, no, no. The EU is going to be an empire for good. You still have borders, just free travel. No, you don't have borders. I mean, it depends on the type of annexation. But for example, when Rome conquered Dacia, my people, right? The Dacians had the ability to become Roman citizens. Free travel. But you can still do free travel now. It's called tourism. I don't see the problem. What right do I have to go to Mexico? You don't have a right to go to Mexico. If you go to Mexico and they catch you, they put you on a bus and they ship you back into the United States. Anarcho-communism also doesn't have borders. Yeah, I saw in CHAZ. Yeah. The Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Let's look at the borders they didn't have. You know, it's really nice when you talk about it from an ideological point of view. But when you look at it in practice, you know, it's not you that's going to make the laws, is it? It's going to be the people with the guns. And when you look at the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, not only did they have borders that they strictly enforced, but they also didn't allow the press. They also had very strict border control. Like the type of people that were allowed in was only done after interviewing them. I mean, look at it. The first thing they did, literally the first thing they did was to establish the borders. I guess to protect themselves from the evil imperialist United States, right? CHAZ was a protest, not a state. Well, not according to the people that initially found it. It's quite funny because initially they called themselves the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. But then they realized, oh shit, if we do that, we're insurrectionists and they can actually shoot us. So they renamed themselves into the Capitol Hill Occupied Protest. Yes. Was a brilliant work of art. A microcosm of what would happen if these people would ever actually have power. If what would happen if these brainlets would ever actually manage to create something at a macro scale, it's literally that. You know, they do the talk, they have the ideology, and they da. But when they actually have power, and they actually have the guns, we saw in a little neighborhood how they terrorize people there. So yes. Where did you get the social justice warrior mod from, V? Yeah, Kelly, a lot of people didn't like it because you spam. Please don't spam, okay? You're not spamming now, so that's good. But if you spam again, I'll take the range. That's the only thing that I have in my chat. Do not spam. The second thing is I got it from Vosh. Like, I had the debate with Vosh, and poop, it popped into my chat, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, I have people that are on the far right of the spectrum. I don't think I have them anymore, Kelly. I think you scared them. Like, I used to have a couple of far right people in my chat. I don't see them anymore. But I do have two far leftists now. I have Kelly Miller and I have Antifa Romania. I think Antifa Romania is actually more right-wing than Kelly. I'm not even kidding. Like, it's interesting. You know, our Antifa is more right-wing than your Antifa. Let that sink in. No, I'll probably not delete it, McQueen. No, it's like, I come from the old internet, you know, like in the old internet, you could have said whatever you wanted. It was like, the idea of censorship was just unreal. They don't do anything, Daniel Charles. They just have a wrench, that's it. I don't, like, if they start banning people, I take the money, the wrench away. But anyway, so, yeah, in the old internet, you had like different rules, but like every single channel had just one rule: don't spam. I don't know if Antifa Romania is based. I mean, it's still a communist. You know, it wants to steal my shit. Like, communists are thugs that are civilized, if you think about it. Like, they still want to steal your shit, like take away what's yours. But they want to do it through, I guess, a civilized way of just going through politics. Bear. You're joking like that, but you know Milo Yiannopoulos actually got banned for donating to PayPal. There is no more sense of humor, you know? Yeah, he donated to some journalist, I believe, to some charity. that other guy on the Dungeons and Dragons stream who called for me to be on mod was salty. Well, I kind of get it. It's like we were playing Dungeons and Dragons, and the focus is on Dungeons and Dragons. It wasn't about politics, and you are spamming the chat, making it difficult for people to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. But it is thuggery nonetheless. I mean, you want to steal my shit. Probably kill my neighbors as well, because like when you try to steal someone's shit, they usually try to defend it. You know, I don't understand how like the disrespect that communists have for private property is astonishing. Like they don't even conceive that when you look at a business, a lot of people put their livelihoods in it. It's like it's the entire human energy that's being channeled into building a business. And when you destroy that business, you destroy the person. It's why in America, for example, they used to hang horse thieves. Like, if you think about it right now, there is no crime, no theft that is receiving capital punishment. However, horse thieving was punishable by death. Death was the sentence in America. Why? Because horses were very important at the time. You needed not only to plow the field with them, but you also needed them to move around. You also needed them to carry goods. If you didn't have a horse, it was incredibly difficult. Let me see if I can find something. I can't. Damn it. Okay. Man, it's what time is it? I still have 40 minutes to talk with you guys. Let's see what we can talk about. Extreme centrist here. Love your perspective. People need a little lore realism and much less utopian fantasy. Well, the thing with the revolutions is, and this is not about the communist revolution, every single revolution throughout mankind, even the French Revolution. Once the revolution starts, you don't know what you're going to get. A lot of people thought they would get and even after you install the dictatorship, you still have no control after the dictator dies. Like, a lot of people thought they would get Trotsky, and instead they got Stalin. Like that, the problem that I have with authoritarian ideologies, and regardless how they brand themselves, you forge the ring of power in a state. Like, you have a person that now is unaccountable and can pretty much do whatever he wants. Well, it's usually not a person, it's an oligarchy. But anyway, you know, so you have Lenin, which creates the ring of power. And a lot of people can actually justify why Lenin got into power, because the monarchy was being a little bit, how should I, oppressive towards its people, you know, forcing them in a war that Russia had no reason going to. And many, like, I'm not going to get into it. But anyway, Lenin wins, right? And he forges the ring of power. He gives all the power to himself. When he dies, the ring of power now gets passed on. And the ring of power not only does corrupt, but it's also oppressive by itself. Anyway, let me see if I got one more thing to show you before we'll end this stream. And no, I'll probably not delete it. Look at this. The Chicago Italians are rising up. People were asking about right-wingers. Well, here you go.
But they finally did it. Like the gentleman said here, this is a total insult, total slap in the face to the Italian-American communities all through Chicago, Cook County, and Illinois. The mayor of the city of Chicago could have sat down, we could have come to some kind of agreement, we could have talked about it, but you went in the middle of the night, at 3 a.m. I think it was, and took him down.
Like thieves in the middle of the night. Like 3 a.m. That's really interesting.
So what the mayor of this city is, the terrorists won. The terrorists that have been destroying our city, throwing rocks and bombs at our Chicago police, they won. They won today. And that's what's got me very upset. What I like to do is send a message to the mayor and 4 aldermen that just said they would take this down personally. Mayor Lightfoot, Alderman Laspada, Rosa, Garcia, Chaco, we're coming after you. That's not a threat of violence.
Okay, I'll play it again. Let me know if the sound is better. It's at max though. Like, look, I can't make the sound. It's the recording that's the problem.
But they finally did it. Like the gentleman said here, this is a total insult, a total slap in the face to the Italian American communities all through Chicago, Cook County, and Illinois. The mayor of the city of Chicago could have sat down, we could have come to some kind of agreement, we could have talked about it, but you went in the middle of the night, at 3 a.m. I think it was, and took him down. So what the mayor told the city is, the terrorists won. The terrorists that have been destroying our city, throwing rocks and bombs at our Chicago police, they won. They won today. And that's what's got me very upset. What I like to do is send a message to the mayor and 4 aldermen that they said they would take this down personally. Mayor Lightfoot, Alderman Laspada, Rosa, Garcia, Chaco, we're coming after you. That's not a threat of violence. We're coming after you politically. You better keep your closet clean. You better everything you do better clean because we're coming after you. You started a war today with the Italian Americans in Chicago, and believe me, you might have won this battle. You are not going to win the war. You woke up a sleeping giant, an Italian American taxpayer, somebody that's a good citizen in this city, someone that goes to work, takes care of their families, and builds the city. You insulted them today, and we will remember this.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do anything, but it's interesting. Like, they say they're going to see if they have any skeletons in the closet. Now, if it's Chicago, I think every single politician has skeletons in the closet. So basically, like, they might be like far left activists that are going to go through Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff in order to find anything that's illegal there. They're upset not because they took down the statues of Christopher Columbus, I understand. They're upset because they did it at 3 a.m. in the night and they didn't talk with them about it. Yeah, I think I would be upset at any politician that does this shit. You know, like in Romania, the government did something like this. They tried to pass a law in the middle of the night, and the resist movement came in. It was like, oh, like thieves in the dark, you're passing legislation. And eventually that government resigned. People don't like when they're not being consulted, basically. Like, they don't enjoy when you buy... It's not that you bypass the democratic process, right? But when it's an important decision, when it's something of pivotal importance, and you know it's bad by doing it at 3 a.m. at night, yeah, I kind of see why people are going to get pissed off. Can you talk about the Dylan Roof supposedly being taken to Burger King during his arrest? Some say the situation is a reason to believe in quote-unquote white privilege. I mean, the only reason that I could possibly see why you would take someone like that to Burger King is if a cop really wanted to go to Burger King. I don't know, like, why didn't they ask the police officers why they did it? Like, that's what I would want to see. Interview the cops that were carrying him and ask him, like, why did you take him to Burger King? Yeah, if they... I don't think it's white privilege, because I've not heard of anyone else, regardless of race, that committed a shooting and then was taken to Burger King. Like, here's what really annoys me about this idea of being nice to white criminals or whatnot. It's like, the reason we put criminals in jail is because they're a danger to public safety, right? Like, I don't want my family to be shot. Like, why would I be nicer to a criminal that just has the same skin color like me? It just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. They did it so he would talk. I mean, you know, like, that's a possibility, but what the fuck do you want him to say? I mean, if he if he's already guilty and they found, there's video evidence and there's all of that, like what exactly does he need to talk about? What exactly can he actually say that's like, no, the guy is going to go for life? But I don't know. It would be interesting to see what the cops did. It's kind of weird though, to be honest. I've never heard about something similar though. Like someone that's a mass shooter to be taken to a restaurant. I've never heard about it. I mean, maybe it did happen, but the cameras weren't rolling. Like the press didn't look at it and they didn't know about it. How many times a eat does we eat Burger King? There is no Burger King here in my town. We generally do not have Burger King. We got McDonald's and we got KFC and Subway. He needs to confess. Why the fuck does he need to confess? Like if there's video evidence of him doing it, or maybe it's a different person. Is it Dylan Roof, like the Young Turks subscribers, the one that shot a dorm, or are we talking about a different person? I mean, you don't need a confession if you have evidence of it. Cops extract confession, that's their job. Well, yeah, I know, but if a criminal wants a blowjob and a foot massage, it depends. I just find it weird, that's all. But, I suppose, like, what you're saying makes sense. If they wanted a confession out of him and it's like, yeah, take me to Burger King, and that's the way they can get a confession. It's kind of risky, I guess, considering that they may escape. But, nah. It makes the court case easier. Yeah, but if you have evidence, like video footage of the guy shooting, you don't need a confession. I mean, yeah, there are cases where you do need a confession. Like, let's say they find a dead body somewhere. And, police are looking for investigators. Like, you have a lot of circumstantial evidence. Then, yeah, you need a confession. But when there's video evidence, what's the point of a confession then? It's illegal to refuse food. And he wasn't booked into jail again. Yeah, that sounds actually more reasonable than they needed a confession. No, but like otherwise you would see more of these cases. Like you'd see more criminals being taken to McDonald's. I assume on the taxpayer dime, nonetheless. Is that how it works in America? Like confession is case over evidence. In Romania, we actually don't do this. And the reason we don't do this is because of how communists operated the judicial systems. They consider the confession to be the queen of evidence. Like if they have a confession, boom, case closed. In reality, what happened is that they would apply correction on people who wouldn't confess. They would do it very interestingly, like use the door to trap your fingers. Like use the door. Put your fingers in at the back of the door and then close the doors. Apparently, it's very painful. Or the testicles in the drawer trick. Or they would put a bag of sand and beat you with it. Like they would put the bag of sand on the chest and then hit it. So that it doesn't leave bruises, apparently. But anyway, like the reason we don't consider the confession to be the queen of evidence is because people can confess for various reasons. One of them can be duress. Like they legitimately just don't want to deal with this shit anymore. But there are other reasons, like for example, covering for someone. Like someone dear to you committed a crime, and you confess so they don't go to jail. You can confess in order to end an investigation. Like you did more stuff, and they don't know about it, so you're confessing on the stuff that they found so that the case is closed. And then there can be people that are mentally insane, but basically, if I were going to go to the cops right now and say that I committed a crime, like let's say I committed a murder, but I don't produce a dead body, I don't produce a murder weapon, they can't arrest me. Like they can't They're not going to win a lawsuit like that just by confession alone. Like, they need more evidence. Unless that's in my country, you know. I don't know how it's in America, but it makes sense. Like, when I was at law school and they told us about this, it made perfect sense. It's like, yeah, you know, like because before that I thought the same. I thought it's like, yeah, you need a confession, they're very important, blah blah blah. You have a confession, case closed. But the way you think about it, it's not really that easy, is it? They love sleep depriving perps. Yeah, I mean that's another thing. You know, like if you torture a person, and I'm not talking about like, you know, actual torture, but like, you know, sleep deprivation. Like you keep them awake for 48 hours, and you're constantly asking them questions after questions. You know, like there is a chance that the person might just go, well, fuck it, you know, and they will just confess so they can go back to sleep. I think like there was another case regarding this where, yeah, a person just sorry, like under communism there would be gangs committing crimes, and the other gang would like pay the guy to confess so that the others could go free, because they would just close the case. um, Confessions go with the evidence. I'm sure the cops in Romania would have tried to get Dylan Roof to confess. Yeah, they probably wouldn't take him to McDonald's, man. Like, I've never heard about that. I'm not saying it didn't happen, or, you know, that this might not be the reason they did it. It's just bizarre. Like, this is the first time I hear about something like this. That's my point. You know? I'm not saying that the cops did wrong or anything. It's just weird. It's like something that I've never heard about before. And if it would have happened earlier and on a bigger scale, I would be like, oh yeah, they did this because of that. And the media wouldn't even have a hissy fit over it. I'm more likely to believe the other version, that the cops can't deny food to a perpetrator. So when he asked and he wasn't booked into prison, they got him a Burger King. Is Burger King really that great? Like, I've never ate a Burger King in my life, but it sounds good. It's like the king of burgers. Yeah. I don't have a Burger King in my town. I think there is one in Bucharest. Again, like what we have is KFC, McDonald's, Subway, Pizza Hut, and that's pretty much it. And Starbucks, you know, but Starbucks doesn't sell food. So that's literally all I got. I never ate Burger King. I never ate Domino's pizza. You know, what else do you Americans have? Never ate Danny's. Oh look, Le Plerom. Yeah, Le Plerom is the opposite of Kelly Miller. There we go. See, haven't seen Le Plerom in ages. Like, the only time I see Le Plerom is when he gets banned from the Twitter, and then contacts me to add him as a friend on a new account, and it's getting like really annoying, because I try to explain to the man. It's like, can you stop getting banned? It's true for a long time. Oh yeah, Wendy. Like, I heard Wendy is actually really good. I heard they're working with fresh products. You haven't eaten both jack food. You know, like, I'm actually thinking of ordering McDonald's. Burger King is disgusting, and they brought him a damn burger. They didn't bring him there and give him a paper crown. Yeah. I don't know how good Burger King is, though. Burger King is more expensive here. Like, McDonald's used to be a 5-star restaurant when it opened in my town. It was so freaking expensive. Like, I remember people wouldn't go there, because when I went there the first time, I think I got a Happy Meal. And for the price of that little hamburger, like that tiny hamburger, for that price, I could have bought like a massive burger or a massive shawarma somewhere else. So yeah, Chick-fil-A is the best fast food ever ate there. Yeah. Pizza Hut is actually really good. I kind of like it. It's very expensive, though, compared to other Romanian places. Like instead of Pizza Hut, you can actually go to a luxurious restaurant and eat for the same amount of cash. But it does have like a really good pizza here. Subway is decent, both in price and the quality of the food. Subway is kind of weird, like you eat and then you get hungry later. That's why I don't like it. McDonald's is okay. I don't mind. And yeah, well, KFC. I mean, it's just chicken. And that's pretty much it. Like, I don't know any other place. Do they sell ice cream? Yeah, McDonald's has the best ice cream that I've ever ate. I think it's one of the best ice creams in the city as well. Here, Ben and Jerry ice cream is also really great. It's got the flavor of communism. Anyway, right, so that's pretty much it. Hope you guys have been entertained. I'm going to work on my main video now, and then I'm going to go to sleep. Pizza Hut as a little kid, they bought pizza in the cooking pan. But it went downhill. Yeah, you know, like, this is what upsets me with restaurants, to be honest. They start making really good food. And when they get a lot of customers, like, I don't know what happens. Maybe they get greedy or something. But when they get a lot of customers, they just stop making good food and they start making it shit. Every single time. Like, I think maybe it also has to do with the staff. Like, in the beginning, when they have very few customers, the staff has more time to prepare and make the actual meal. But when they get a lot of people wanting to eat, the staff has to hurry, and, you know, maybe they don't hire more people. I don't know. But yeah. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.